After I finished Sonic Generations, I said something along the lines of, "But I am never playing another Sonic game as long as I live." And I really meant it. But since then, I've found myself actually wanting more. I watched the movies, which Jim Carrey carries by the way, kept up with news about Sonic and Shadow Generations, reminisced about Sonic Underground, and listened to a lot of Crush 40. I've been broken down, so it's time for... Released in November 2022, Sonic Frontiers was said to be the next evolution of the Sonic video game formula following the reception of Forces. Frontiers received mixed reviews from critics, with the PS5 version scoring 70 on Metacritic. The fan reaction was slightly more favourable, with a fan score of 8.2 and a sales figure of 3.5 million units. Frontiers sidelines the traditional level structure for a more open zone approach, with the game taking place across 4 separate islands. To get all 41 trophies in the game, I need to complete the story, fully explore each island, interact with Sonic's friends, and get up to some other shenanigans. The game begins with Eggman doing something nefarious with a rock and being transported into cyberspace. Meanwhile, Sonic and his friends are on their way to the same islands to investigate what brought the Chaos Emeralds here. They get sucked into a portal, and Sonic somehow ends up in Green Hill Zone again. After a strong start, Sonic wakes up alone on Kronos Island, with a disembodied voice telling him how to rescue his friends.
Find the Chaos Emeralds. Destroy the Titans. Tear down the walls between dimensions.
After this, we go through the game's tutorial. We get an introduction to the game's platforming, combat, and the island challenges. These reveal a posture of the map when you complete them, and this is tied to 4 separate trophies. After progressing a little further, we encounter a Guardian, stronger enemies that essentially act as mini-bosses. And the trial by fire begins with... After defeating our first Guardian, we get the game's first trophy, Unknown Threat. We progress further through the tutorial section, learning more about the open world puzzles, Sonic's skill tree, island portals, fighting another mini-boss, and getting the first Chaos Emerald. From here, we're free to explore the island however we want, and for completing the tutorial, we get The Journey Begins. Catching up with Eggman, his meddling with the ancient technology has trapped him in cyberspace.
I appear to be in a digital dimension.
We're able to find Amy on the island, and it turns out that she's also trapped in cyberspace, so she's only able to manifest as a hologram. I did some challenges like the one from Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, I got another Chaos Emerald, and I had my first encounter with one of the Titans. After being thrown into another part of the map, I got the trophy Hermit Coco encounter for speaking with the Hermit Coco for the first time. The Hermit Coco is able to use the red and blue seeds we've been collecting to raise Sonic's attack and defense respectively. And for the trophies Herculean and Hardened Hedgehog, I need to max these out. After completing more challenges, I reached the maximum number of rings I could carry and activated a power boost. This happens whenever Sonic maxes out his ring count, and the same animation plays every time, unless you're fighting Fortnite Ninja like I was. For activating a power boost for the first time, we get Speed Demon. In the cyberspace levels, there are 4 missions to complete: reaching the goal, clearing within the S-rank time limit, finishing the level with a certain number of rings, and collecting all 5 red star rings. It's kind of embarrassing that it's taken this long, but I finally got my first S-rank time, getting the trophy Superior Ranking. And on the next level, I finally completed all 4 missions, getting the trophy Perfect Run. We're able to talk to Amy when we collect a certain number of memory tokens. These cutscenes include them discussing the current situation, reminiscing about old adventures, and talking about the Coco, an ancient civilization that lived on the Starfall Islands. We complete a minigame to help the Coco, which is essentially just Milo's gym from Pokemon Sword and Shield, and we get a Chaos Emerald for completing it. I don't know what it is about his dancing, but Sonic just doesn't have the same kind of presence as Crash did. While running around the island, we end up breaking 100 breakable objects, getting Swath of Destruction. Along with the new combat system, there's a mechanic called the Phantom Rush. It activates when you reach a certain combo and gives you a damage and speed boost. Doing this for the first time gets us the Combo Convert trophy. There's another trophy tied to the Phantom Rush, but I'll leave that for later on. While repairing more portals, I found another pillar of Sonic Frontiers' trifecta of gameplay styles. You have your open zone traversal, your cyberspace levels, and... fish! Every island has a portal leading to Big the Cat. For finding Big for the first time, we get the trophy Big Encounter.
Would you like to try?
And while I'm not taking the time to fish right now, It might come back later on. Along with Sonic's attack and defense, he also has stats linked to his speed and maximum number of rings. These need to be maxed out as well, but this is done by bringing the Lost Coco to the Elder Coco. Just like with the Hermit, for speaking to him for the first time, we get Elder Coco Encounter. After repairing the final portal on the island, we get the trophy Kronos Island Memories. Now it's time to take on the Titan at the top of the waterfall, but it's here that I realised just how bad the movement in this game is. Sonic will get caught on random parts of the terrain and lose all of his momentum. He'll get launched through the air for no apparent reason, and the climbing... yeah, it's not fun. Especially after my last Sonic game being Generations, which had really responsive and well-designed movement. After finally making it to the top of the waterfall, it's time to face down the first Titan, Giganto. With all 7 Chaos Emeralds in our possession, Sonic transforms into a super form and... From here we attack the Titan, parry its attacks by holding block, that's right, there's 0 timing involved, and Sonic kills it while paying homage to King Piccolo. After a slightly underwhelming boss fight that's only just saved by the backing music, we get the beginning. And after this we're done with Kronos Island for now. Sonic makes his way over to Ares Island and... So now we have to gather the 7 Chaos Emeralds in order to fight the island's Titan, which we've literally just done. Before we can make a start on the island's objectives, we come across our first Starfall. During these, all previously defeated enemies respawn, wonder where they got that idea, and you can collect fallen star pieces to spin a slot machine that covers a portion of the screen and can make gameplay really annoying when it doesn't go away. For seeing our first Starfall, we get the trophy Celestial Rain. And during the Starfall, we reach 100 purple coins, getting Ticket to Tranquility. Ares Island differs from the previous island as it's covered in sand, and this makes the movement just so much worse. Every time Sonic gets caught on any surface geometry like a rock or a tile, it throws off his momentum and can even launch him off the map. While completing the loop of completing cyberspace levels, getting Chaos Emeralds and interacting with Knuckles, I collected 200 Coco, getting the Coco Leader Trophy. After completing more cyberspace levels, with S ranks by the way, we spend more time with Knuckles by playing the Sonic equivalent of the Crane mission from GTA 5. The next Titan is Wyvern, and the fight starts off with the same light path running section as Squid, until we reach the last Chaos Emerald. Once Sonic transforms, we fight the Titan in the same gameplay loop of parry, which isn't actually parry, attack, quick time event, and button mash. For killing Wyvern and finishing the story on Ares Island, we get Ancient Defiance. Sonic flies over to Chaos Island and is shot down, so now it's time to gather the 7 Chaos Emeralds in order to fight the island's Titan.
Did I ever tell you what the definition of insanity is?
Once again we go through the same gameplay loop until we find the next Titan, after which we're forced into a section where we have to run away from a giant buzzsaw, and the path disappeared faster than Sonic could run. After escaping the saw, Sonic and Tails work together to find out more about the Coco that once lived on the Starfall Islands, and they witness the end of a civilization.
So, that was a thing.
It was at this point in the Platinum run that I was starting to get burned out. The combination of the game's traversal being janky at best, the constant pop-in, and the flow of gameplay constantly being interrupted by enemy encounters or being railroaded into platform sections actually made me want to stop playing. The game's not difficult, it's just exhausting to put up with. And just when I thought of giving up, I found my salvation in the form of a rotund purple cat. Fishing minigames are special. There's nothing I love more than whipping out my rod and ignoring life's problems. Fishing minigames give me hope for tomorrow. Playing them is probably the closest I'll ever get to feeling truly fulfilled. I don't know how much time I spent here, but I had a ton of purple coins saved up and they were burning a hole in my pocket. In exchange for catching fish, you get tokens you can trade with Big for things like vault keys, power and defense seeds, rings, upgrade points, and more. And so, I got to work. After channeling my inner Jeremy Wade, I got Angler's Club for catching every fish in a single fishing spot. Back on the island, we find Tails next to an old Eggman robot that we need to use, but the only way to do this is to hack into its systems. Hacking minigames have the exact opposite effect of fishing minigames. They actively ruin my day, no matter what game they're in. Anyway, the robot opens up another section of the island, and we spend more time with Tails, either helping the Coco or giving him some emotional support.
It's okay if you still need help sometimes. That's just part of growing up.
Back in cyberspace, Sage saves Eggman from Keicho Nijimura? And then about 10 minutes later she has a flashback of this, set to the song of all time. Before getting to the end of the story on Chaos Island, I completed Sonic's skill tree for the Unrivaled Aptitude trophy. To get access to the Titan, we need to make the volcano erupt, and the only way to do this is by playing pinball. This took me more attempts than I'm comfortable admitting, so I think my 8-hour-long retrospective of Pokemon Pinball will have to wait. The Titan of Chaos Island is Knight. We have to avoid its sword, deflect its buzzsaw, and slice it in half with its own sword. I know I said the Titan fights get kinda stale, but that's just objectively cool. For completing the story on Chaos Island, we get futile resistance. Now we move on to Rhea Island, where we don't actually have to collect the Chaos Emeralds and fight a giant mech. This time we have to go across the island and shut down 6 towers. Getting to the top of each tower requires you to complete platforming challenges, and these were no problem for a seasoned veteran like me. At the top of each tower we get a cutscene about the Coco's last stand, but at this point I am beyond caring about the lore. After shutting down the last one, everyone's able to come back to the real world, but Sonic finally succumbs to the effects of going in and out of cyberspace. The entity that wiped out the Ancients finally reveals itself as the voice that's been instructing Sonic this entire time. With Eggman unable to take it on himself, Sonic is immediately brought back with the power of friendship. Eggman reluctantly decides to team up with Sonic.
Sonic, I hereby induct you into the Eggman Empire and order you to save us all. Understand? This is not an alliance.
And now we have to gather the Chaos Emeralds again. Oranos Island is the final zone of the game, with Sage being our companion this time. After completing some pretty hefty puzzle solving, like touching a ball before it hits the ground, I reverted back to old habits.
Hey Sonic, welcome back.
This fishing spot is the best one in the game. Even though it costs you 8 purple coins every time you cast your line, most of the catches reward you with 48 coins, and you can buy unlimited Coco here. I spent all of my purple coins here and bought as many seeds and Coco as I could. On my way to Hermit Coco to fully upgrade Sonic, I found a weird enemy that I hadn't fought before, so I stomped on it and got easy prey for defeating all enemy types. After this, I went to the Hermit Coco to give him the seeds I got from fishing. I got Herculean Hedgehog for maxing out my attack, and Hardened Hedgehog for maxing out my defense. And then I did the same with the Elder Coco, getting Hearty Hedgehog for maxing out my ring level, and Hypersonic Hedgehog for maxing out my speed. While getting the Chaos Emeralds, we did another hacking minigame and fought new bosses like Master Ninja and Ghost. Once we get the 6th Emerald, Eggman appears to give Sonic the last one. With all 7 Emeralds now in our possession, it's time for Super Sonic to take on the final Titan, Supreme. But because I maxed out my attack stat, after Supreme falls, the entity leaves its body and ascends into space. So Sage takes over the body of Supreme and gives chase alongside Sonic. For beating Supreme, we get hopes across ages. The entire game has led to this, the end. Sage throws Sonic for real this time, and after pressing square 3 times, we get a land at peace. And it turns out that on any difficulty above normal, the final boss is another hacking minigame. Pretty sure I dodged a bullet on that one. And before the end can detonate and take the Earth with it, Sage sacrifices herself to save the planet. Sonic is finally reunited with his friends, and Eggman's reaction is actually kind of depressing. The credits roll, Sonic and his friends tease what they're going to do next, and Eggman revives Sage. I guess there really are no consequences. With the story done, the trophy count is only at 64%. But thankfully, unlike Generations, the trophy cleanup doesn't require any challenge acts or red rings. Starting with Oranos Island, I repaired all of the portals for Oranos Island memories. For completing all the challenges and revealing the map, I got Oranos Island Explorer. After you fully reveal the map, you can fast travel to any of the portals, which makes viewing all the side stories much easier. For watching every cutscene with Sage, I got Oranos Island Expert. On Chaos Island, there's slightly more to do. For the Threats Identified trophy, we need to defeat every type of Guardian mini-boss. One that I missed on my initial playthrough was Fortress. It's pretty much just the squid boss fight on rails instead of on a light road. And while I was trying to repair a portal on the island, a Fortress boss fight kept spawning, and I couldn't access the portal until the boss despawned several minutes later. Eventually though, I did get all the portals repaired for Chaos Island memories. There weren't too many challenges remaining on this island, but one of the final challenges could only be activated at night, so I started to make my way towards another one and... After this, I finished the last challenges and unlocked the map for Chaos Island Explorer. This then let me bounce around the map speaking to Tails and Sage to get Chaos Island Expert. Now it's time for my least favourite island, the Sand one. It was here that I found the Guardian that I missed, Tank. After beating it, I got the Threats Identified trophy. Then I just went around the island again, completing the challenges for Explorer, repairing the portals for Memories, and speaking to Knuckles for Expert. I wanted to end the game with the island that we began on, to remind myself of how hopeful I was going into the game. We've already repaired all the portals here, so all that's left is the challenges and the cutscenes. But there's one last combat related trophy that I still need to get, Combo Crackerjack. This requires you to activate Phantom Rush 50 times. I thought I could farm this easily against the Sumo Guardian on Ares Island, but I killed it too easily and it takes forever to respawn. But luckily there's one last option on Kronos Island. One of the first Guardians you face is Asura. You run up its arms and attack the 3 spikes on its head. But there's a way to keep attacking it without dealing damage. And after 5 minutes of this, I got my trophy. Since we're on the first island, the challenges are actually really simple, like running around a marker in a circle and hitting a ball. Once the entire map is revealed, we get Kronos Island Explorer. Now there's just one thing left, and that's the cutscenes with Amy. After the final cutscene, we get the final 3 trophies. Kronos Island Expert for viewing all the side stories on the island, Expert Historian for viewing all side stories in the game, and then the Platinum. In the end, this Platinum run took me about 18 hours, 1 playthrough, and quite a bit of fishing. I've been pretty critical of Frontiers. I think it's kind of broken and needed more time in the oven, but I understand the vision that the developers had. I'm well aware that the series has stooped to lower lows, and I'm oddly looking forward to see just how dire these games can get.
None of this is good, Vector. That's why it's called war.